So this is the typical crossbow of the early 13th century. This is a belt-spanned crossbow. By this point, the power of the bows was getting higher and higher, and it was getting to the point where typical just muscle power wasn't able to span them as well. This is about 200 pounds, and you can span this by hand, but the real question is how often could you do it? And if you got hurt while trying to span your own bow, you're now ineffective. So what they did is they combined a recent innovation of the stirrup with a spanning belt. And the spanning belt works like this. You put your foot in the stirrup, much like a horse, and simply bend down and stand back up. And that allows you to use the largest muscles, the most powerful muscles on the body, your legs. And by that point, you're now loaded, and you simply withdraw a bolt, put it in there, and then you pull the trigger, and that just releases it. By this point, we're actually seeing a revolution in crossbows in England. Prior to 1200, prior to King John, all crossbows were manufactured out of the country and had to be imported. King Richard famously imported several crossbows. We have the records of those and the costs. But King John decided he wanted them manufactured domestically. So he actually brought in crossbow makers from basically all over Europe. Most of them came from Italy. And one of them, the name he was known by was actually the Saracen. And so he served the court for several years, making crossbows and maintaining crossbows. So in my opinion, that's one of two things that King John did correctly. The first one is that he passed away when he did. Other than that, the crossbow was an extremely powerful weapon. It could penetrate with the correct poundage and the correct distance, and the right heads could penetrate mail relatively consistently. Something like this could penetrate at relatively short ranges. We're not talking hundreds of yards. We're talking, tens of yards. But you are looking at something that could kill a knight. And my only job on the battlefield is to kill people at this point as a crossbow sergeant.